I clicked. Are you still there? Okay.
Are you here?
Okay.
We're all here.
I think we're all here. I'm here.
We're live.
Hey, welcome everybody.
Welcome, welcome.
Here we are.
So, yay.
Yeah.
It is January, is it the 29th?
29th.
Yep. Sunday, January 29th, 2023. I have the correct year, I think.
Good. It's been so hard to remember.
I am Marta Ferguson. This is Hope Martin. Hope put together a lovely agenda for us that I've just realized I don't have pulled up to refer to. So give me a second. I will pull that back up. I thought that was great. And I think, yeah, we'll all be better off if there's a plan. Otherwise, I just start talking.
Right. Try to keep it as much as possible. We're going to ramble. I think we are both rambly people, but to keep us somewhat at least on or near a path.
I'm also going to flip another light on. It looks a little dark from my end yet.
Okay.
So, yeah.
I am actually in my husband's home studio, who has a much nicer setup than I do.
Ooh.
So the lighting is much better. You probably noticed, although it reflects nicely off my dirty glasses. Maybe I'll take those off and clean them. And he has a nice blue wall back here.
I do like that wall. And I see that it's hung with some of your art.
Yes, it does have some of my art on it. Yeah. I should have, if I thought I would have hung some of the Casper stuff behind me, but maybe next time I'll redecorate.
Yeah. And I'm just happy to be able to get into my office at this point. It has housed various things over the last year as we are engaged in various projects and shuffled in and through my office, some of which belong here, some of which do not. You know,
the great collage behind you.
Oh yes, I love this. This was, yep. Much creative energy
And memories.
Birthday, by a number of small, and now not any more small children.
No, they're not small. They grew. They're like in their 20s and upper teens now. And I'm just not sure I'm okay with that, but I don't have much of a choice, so I'll pretend that everything's fine. It's all good. It's all good.
All right. Yeah. So, what we have been doing, do you want me to give the background on kind of how we got started doing this? Do you want to talk about our recent, more specific recent efforts? So, Hope and I have known each other a long time. I'm a writer. Hope is a visual artist. We participated when we both lived in the same city in Missouri. We participated in an exchange for several years where writers and visual artists would both submit pieces for consideration for a show at the local art league. And then both the pieces of writing and the works of art would get put together, and you'd be paired with a partner. As a writer, I would receive a work of art. As a visual artist, Hope would receive a piece of writing. And you would each then create in your respective medium based on what you got. So at the end, each pair would have 2 works of art, 2 pieces of writing. And then this was all hung as a gallery show and produced as an anthology. So it was tremendous fun all around. Hope and I had both been part of that project and actually got paired as partners without our knowledge one year, which was super fun.
Every time I have quinoa now, I think of you.
Tremendous fun. So now we are, these many years down the road, I am writing paranormal cozy mysteries, Demeter West and the Ghost Town Glitch, Demeter West and the Absent Presence. I have a prequel forthcoming in a very few weeks that will be A Treachery of Thomas's, Evil Steve and Scary Gary's first adventure. So yeah, it's all excitement. But Casper, it's set in Casper, Missouri, which doesn't really exist. It's fictional.
It's all fictional, folks.
Totally fictional. It's a college town and cosmic crossroads. So Casper is a place where anything can and does happen, parallel worlds kind of bleed in and over one another, and things mix and shift, and there's all kinds of mysteries to explore. There's all kinds of interesting flora and fauna that you can see but not actually touch, as these parallel worlds are immaterial as they pass through Casper, as Casper passes through them. And so we get the Casper Ghostly Plant Guide and Ghostly Wildlife Guide. And I'm going to let Hope tell you what we've done to kind of create those the last 2 or 3 years.
Well, I can also show, I have a tab that I can, if we can get that to share. How do I do that? I share my screen, right?
And then I go there's a little person with a thing, and there's people's. There we go.
Ooh. Okay, are you seeing a lovely screen here with the Casper Oropendula? Yeah. So that was, I believe that was the first exchange we did.
I think that might have been our first exchange. I remember doing the exchange. I don't remember when.
I think it was one of the early ones, at least. Okay. So you had this wonderful writing about them, and it got me looking up, all about the Oropendulas that we really have. There are several different kinds, and after several tries at it, several drawings, this is kind of what I came up with, and based the look off of deep sea life. So the kind of the see-through glowing edges kind of thing.
Because that particular universe that intersected the Casper universe that's close to ours, it's still not exactly ours, but the Casper universe where the books are set, it does not have those characteristics, but intersects with a place that does have those characteristics. So
yep. So that was that first one. And then I think you responded to this one that I did, which I was calling Moody Woods. And I think in your piece, it was the bridle path.
Right. It's the Holling.
Bridle as in horses, not bridle as in veil.
Right. It's a horse path behind the stables. Yep.
Path behind stables with the little trickster cat-like shape that some people thought was helpful, and other people said, no, don't trust it.
Don't trust it.
It is a bit mischievous, as all good cat shapes must be. So that was a pastel study I did. And I think after that, this was one you responded to, which was the frilly swim snake, which I just loved. This was a piece I did based roughly on the Amor Towles novel, A Gentleman in Moscow. So the whole idea of being, trapped. But I love it as a possible sea snake metamorphic or larval stage, not larval, pupal stage, I guess, because then those bubbles have a very good reason to be there. Let's see. I think the last one we wrapped up with was the sentient kelp, which this was my response piece to, is getting that kind of sketchbook style on black paper, which makes this look so much easier. And we have that kelp kind of entangling this other sea creature and going, okay, you need to go talk to Octavia.
Right.
The Octavia, the crossing guard? No.
Right.
Octavia's title.
Yeah. She's somebody who, let's say, interrupts traffic as it comes near her dwelling, and has helpers who also help her intercept traffic. And her motivations, we're not sure about her motivations. Is she keeping the peace? Is she a pirate queen of sorts? She appears to be a sentient octopus. There's a little tentacle that made its way into the painting. So one of the many regular manifestations from a parallel universe that appears in Casper. So.
Yeah. So that was, I think that was all. Yep. That was
Okay.
the 4 pieces of art that I have from last time.
Okay. From
Our
our
2022 efforts.
yeah, our previous exchanges. So now we are in 2023. We are contemplating doing this again, and we're contemplating a somewhat different approach. Rather than working directly from one another's pieces, we're talking about each working independently from the same kind of concept. Like we would work together to design a parallel universe that might be rolling through Casper, that Casper might be rolling through. And each take an approach, doing some writing about, doing some, tell me again, I'm remembering the word journaling. Is it a sketch journal?
A kind of nature journal, sketch journal, where it's, in theory done by someone who has experienced these things and is noting them down. And I can show you what I've done that's kind of along those lines. Let me share that again. So I'm going to go back to share screen. Okay, now that is a spread that I've done for, I'm doing an inside out kind of journal where I create the pages first and then bind them up later. So it's very multimedia and only a little bit organized. So there's lots of room for creative wandering. So again, very sketchy. Things are done just enough, but not super polished. That makes sense. Like that one page right there, I've got overlay, and that reveals a little more. So something along those lines.
Very cool. Very cool. So we were talking about what sort of universes, what sort of settings might interest both of us. And it sounds like Hope and I both have an interest in steampunk literature and culture. So we're talking, I think, about a steampunk garden. And garden can be interpreted, I think, any of a number of ways. The Victorians of our very own universe interpreted gardens in many, many ways. And steampunk writers do all kinds of things with gardens in many different manifestations, and how the machinery and the biological components all fit together, what that might look like, what it might do, why is it there? I think those are all great questions that could be really fun to explore. And I, as a writer, I love characters. I'm very character driven, but I'm also, I love a great setting, and I love the interplay between character and setting. So I sort of love the idea that if we're designing a setting, what sort of characters does it give rise to? Who's there? So I'm curious to see what we'll develop as we pursue this.
Yeah. Very cool. Yeah. Do you have any idea how we might start? We have a very broad category now. So Victorian steampunk, otherworldly Victorian steampunk. So things are even more open, which, as you probably know, sometimes makes it harder.
Yeah.
When you have too much to choose from, you get that overwhelm of, what is it? Where you just kind of freeze under the load of possibility.
Right.
Analysis paralysis. That's what I'm thinking of.
There you go. Yeah.
So any thoughts on how we might navigate that?
Well, if this is a garden isn't a patch of wild land. A garden is a bit of cultivated land. So it belongs to someone. Who might it belong to? And is it small enough that it is a garden maintained by one person, or is it large enough that it's a garden maintained by a team of professional gardeners for, say, an estate? Or is it
Hmm.
someone's little cottage?
Okay.
We have those kinds of considerations. I think, as we make the decision tree of what's this going to be, what's this going to look like. And of course, that leads us toward what sort of characters are we talking about? The sort of characters we're talking about that might maintain an eccentric garden blending biological and mechanical elements in a cottage is very different than the kind of thing that we might find if such a place were to be maintained as part of the gardens of a great estate.
Mm-hmm.
Mhm.
Mm-hmm. I think initially I like the idea of, on the smaller side and there's one caretaker entity kind of thing. But
Mhm.
then, I've been playing with lately, small, big, it's really all kind of relative because to a cricket, its world is large, but to us, those acorns and mushrooms are very tiny. So,
Mhm.
if it's one entity and a small patch, is it really then that also a bauble on a much larger tree maintained by an estate?
Ooh. Ooh. I kind of like that too. We're getting the microcosm within a macrocosm. Okay.
Yes. Yes. That's kind of where my brain just kind of goes, huh, you know,
Very interesting.
that could be fun.
Yeah.
So yeah,
Hmm.
we think so. Are we set? You think on the gardening? I like that idea.
Yeah. I will say, not coincidentally, this is probably occurring to me because we started playing a board game over Christmas called Cottage Garden, and I'm just so solidly,
Cottage garden. I've not heard of that.
I'm just thoroughly enjoying playing Cottage Garden right now. So,
Look that up.
woohoo! Yui Rosenberg is the designer. So, yay, Yui Rosenberg!
Is it card based or
A
is it
board
token
game.
based? The board game. Okay.
Yeah.
A board
Board
game.
game inspiring an ekphrastic exchange between two friends. There's no steampunk elements
Oh,
in Cottage Garden, but it has kind of thrown me back into that whole the lushness of a beautifully maintained garden of flowers specifically. Not there are all kinds of gardens, but I've been probably because we've been playing so much Cottage Garden, very focused on flower gardens in particular. My dad was a big rose gardener, and then branched out and got from roses into wildflowers because they were so much hardier. So yeah, so I grew up um, around gardens. I grew up as sort of unskilled garden help. Bring the bucket, bring the spade, dig there.
gotcha. Gotcha.
See, that's dead. Take that off. Not like that.
Yes. Yes. Minion work. Got it.
Yeah. I'm a garden minion myself. So yeah, so I kind of love the idea of creating our little slice into this particular universe, being through the portal, through the visitation of this garden, and we would see just this littlest part of the garden that might be considerably larger. Um,
Yes.
yeah.
For a first take is it's just this simple little thing, but
Mm.
upon further reflection, perhaps.
How do you feel about an automaton as our garden attendant, as our kind of primary inhabitant and character?
I am open to all
That would
possibilities
give
there.
you some kind of some hands and finger joints, taking care of a plant. It would give you
Need some sort of dexterity appendages, dexterous appendages, something.
yeah, I think that could be really fun.
I'll have to send you the link. There's this podcast I listen to, Escape Pod, and
Mhm.
one of their, not super recent because I'm very behind on listening,
Yep.
where they kind of had this, it's a gardening context, but there is also a lot of tech involved in that you program the seeds.
Ooh.
Grow.
Yeah, let me know which episode.
Yeah, I will send it. It's a two-parter. I just listened to part one, and the main character was, getting her seeds, and they just mentioned programming. So it's very much like reality, in that there's talking about horses and a downs, and the Derby is coming up.
Right.
She's very focused on gardening and getting root vegetables, because it will upset her father greatly that she chose those particularly. So, that kind of thing.
You know who the writer is?
I don't off the top of my head.
Escape Pod Garden. I love that we've both had garden things. Just kind of.
So it's The Contrary Gardener by Christopher Rowe.
Okay.
And it's part one of his 870 and 871 on Escape Pod.
Okay, making a note.
Yeah. So Kaylin, is the main character.
Ooh. 870, 871, you said?
Yes, exactly. They were around beginning of January time, January 5th, and the other one came out on January 12th. So that's how far behind I am.
Terrific.
Although I don't know that I listened to all of last year's yet either. I tend to listen in spurts. I'll be really into it for a while, and then it'll fall.
Devout for years and years and years, and then fell off the podcasting, listening to podcasts kind of generally, and haven't gotten back. But yeah, I know Mer Lafferty has done so much with Castle and Escape Pod, and I just saw somebody else whose book looked really good, and she listed herself as having been involved with Escape Pod, and I thought, oh good, it's still there. Yay.
It is. Yes, it is. Yeah. The great thing about that, though, is you have a lot to catch up on.
Right. Kristen
have to wait.
went on to do other things, and yay, that we all have new horizons ahead of us. But yay that Escape Pod has not floundered in her absence. So yay,
still there, still wonderful. I love it.
Woohoo!
All right then. So we are set. We have our heading. We're going to do one of my favorite. We're going to cottywomple in that direction. It's my favorite. I've decided I'm a professional cottywomper.
Okay.
I set out with intention, but my destination is quite vague. So I'm an artist and professional cottywomper now.
I like it. Wondering, does that apply? Because I generally know when I'm writing, I generally know where I'm going. I'm more I know where I'm going. I know I'll get there, but then I take a lot of scenic paths, a lot of loops. Yeah.
I kind of classify that still along the cottywomper. Not everything is planned out.
Yeah.
You know what? You're gonna head in that direction, but the path,
right,
might not be straight through, and probably is not straight through. In all likelihood, there are some deviations, discoveries to be made along the way.
Exactly. And I found out, moving from poetry to prose, that when I overplanned, it wasn't fun anymore. When I knew everything that was going to happen, I was just sitting down and, oh gosh, I may have been doing my taxes. I wasn't enjoying
not that exciting, which is that.
It was not. And being able to let go being able to just say, okay, well, I need to arrive approximately here at approximately this point. And, here's some things that could happen between now and then, and keeping it looser that way. Oh gosh, I've been a lot happier writer.
The process is more enjoyable. And I've found, when I do that with art, where I just leave that playful openness, the end result is better than what I thought I was going to do. So all those little kind of tangents just kind of add to the things that happen, that cocoon thing, those bubbles were not planned. What I thought I was going to do was more literal interpretation of the photograph, which is very much my thing. And just as I started playing with it, things either got taken out or added in. And I was like, oh, well, that works. That's not what I thought I was going to do, but that works.
Yep.
So yeah.
I had to look up I wanted to get the quote correctly attributed. I didn't want to just say, Abraham Lincoln, because Abraham Lincoln said everything online. Um,
Right.
no surprise in the writer, no surprise in the reader. Robert Frost, actually.
Robert Frost.
Hmm. Yep. No surprise for the writer, no surprise for the reader. Hmm.
Write that down, because that, yeah, I think that applies to two-dimensional art as well.
Hmm.
If I'm not surprised or if I'm not excited, the chances are other people aren't as well.
Hmm. And I think it speaks to a level of flexibility and attention,
Mhm.
holding to basically where you think you're going, but not being so over determined about it that you miss possibilities along the way.
Yes, yes. Don't want to have plans so tight that you've got blinders on and you can't see all these wonderful things hanging out in the periphery trying to get your attention.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Hey, what if I tried X? Ooh, oh, that could be fun.
Yeah. Well, sometimes I look at it and go, yeah, nope, not going there. No. Sometimes that happens too.
Right.
But
And
that's okay. I think that's
yeah.
all part of it, and it should be expected and welcomed.
Mhm. Mhm. Yep. Yep. Possibility of revision, change,
Mhm.
different variations and versions, and okay, no, that's not ultimately where this is going to go. But ooh, hey, I'm also not sorry I wrote that scene. That still gives me information I didn't have about what's going on elsewhere. Yeah. So even
Mhm.
if that's not something I end up sharing as part of the finished piece, it's still been a useful digression for my own process.
Mhm. Very much so. Very much so.
Oh, I love it.
I
Oh,
love that. I think one thing I've learned through our interactions is just how much the writing process and the art process are so similar.
mhm.
And I had not realized that writing to me is like words. Not so good with the words here, but I do try. So it's nice that to me that they're so similar.
Yep, yep, I think there's a lot of commonality, and I always loved that about going to, the interpretations gallery shows, where you would get to see all of these different creative processes, all of these different points where people started, and all of the places where they ended up, and, um walking through that gallery and listening to, because we when in the original interpretations show, you might have been given your art partner from early on, but you did not know one another's identities. That was
Right.
part of the gallery opening, was the great reveal of who you'd been paired with.
Yes.
um,
That
and
was
so we
awesome.
were, it was this tremendous fun. It was kind of like blind date and family reunion and, I don't know what all, grand prize reveal, sort of all mixed up together in one experience. We're like,
Mhm.
oh my gosh, I know you. Oh my gosh, I've been working with you. I didn't know I was working.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
Mhm. Right.
And then
So
that one year where we were paired, and I think you figured it out before I did.
yeah. You were complaining about, I don't know about
I
quinoa.
have to do
What
something about
about quinoa?
quinoa.
Like, oh no. Oops.
It
Oh,
was so funny.
I don't
And
know.
then I realized that then you told me, it's like, oh, that was me. I'm like, oh no.
Because I had the pastel and I was like, gosh, this looks like Hope's work.
Because it was the snail. Was the
Yeah.
garden snail that year? Yeah.
Yep. Yep. And I did the Fibonacci sequence piece.
Yes, which I love the Fibonacci
And
spiral and sequence, and I
yeah.
use that so much. So
Mhm,
that was
mhm.
cool that we did that. That was so. But yeah, every time I have quinoa, I want to text you and just go quinoa.
Feel free. I will send you back probably.
Yep, and our kids just look at us and go, oh.
you know.
But
We're
they're
so
gonna do
proud
that
that
anyway.
we figured out how to use StreamYard. And they're very patient about how proud we are about something that is so basic to them. Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah.
But you know what? That's okay. It's all good. It's keeping us, I would say it's keeping us out of trouble, but I'm not really certain about that, other than maybe it's just directing that trouble in a different way.
It's getting us to continue to learn,
Yes.
continue to
Continue
adapt.
learning and
Mhm,
trying and playing with
mhm.
opportunities, possibilities.
Yep. Mm,
Very cool.
all good things.
So, what
Mhm.
have you got coming up this year outside of this
Yes.
stuff?
Yes. Returning to the agenda,
Yeah.
because we have talked about I do have it. Give me a
We've
sec.
gone over, ourselves and our previous rounds and what we're going to do on round 3, at least what we're going to start round 3 with the idea that we're coddywampling in a way that we know we're going to start here and we're going to end up with writing and art.
Mhm.
Exactly what we really are not sure yet. There might be some fun detours along the way.
All right. Well, I turned 50 this year. I'm very excited about
Happy
it.
birthday. Happy birthday. You youngin', you.
Gotten this
I turned
far.
55 this year.
Woo! We've gotten this far.
I
Yay!
know.
Um, and so, COVID, I complained a lot about COVID during the last live stream. I'm going to complain about COVID some more because COVID continues to visit our household and other
Mhm.
bronchial ick continues to visit our household. And we
Mm.
continue to take more and more precautions. And yeah, COVID is awful. But it's been part of the lesson. Okay, so I've been redirected here. Okay, so what I thought was going to happen is not what has happened. So the spring break novella I thought I would be pushing to have out 2 years ago for spring break 2021. Yeah, it's finally going to come out spring break 2023. So I'm very excited. I will have I'll start the early this year. There will be this Demeter West Mystic Match Mysteries novella. And then for fall, I have my first romance novel that will be out. This is part of the academia series that I have
Word.
started at a small, setting is a small liberal arts college in Iowa. Um, I'm stealing bits and pieces from many small liberal arts colleges here in Iowa. And I'm stealing the name Ripplebrook College from the generations old family farm that my grandparents had and sold
Mhm.
when my mother was in her early 20s, I think, is when they finally sold the farm.
Oh.
Um, Ripplebrook Farm that was near Nashua, Iowa. So Ripplebrook, it's been sold to somebody else now. They've done their own thing with it. But the Ripplebrook name is no longer associated with the farm.
Ah.
So the Ripplebrook name gets to live on as
Awesome.
Ripplebrook College.
That's awesome.
My mom got kind of all verklempt.
Oh,
Oh, it was
very cool.
so that's what I have coming up. I've got both books are written. They need to be edited and polished up for production. So
Wow.
those things need to happen, and then drafting for stuff for next year needs to happen. So we'll see how much of all of that. Again, trying to hold loosely to where I think I'm going, but be prepared for detours.
Mhm.
Happy and COVID. Yeah. Mhm.
Yep.
That's the sorting system I'm using.
I like that system. I believe I use that system as well. It's like, here's what I think I'm gonna do. Let's see what happens.
Yeah.
And
Mhm.
then it's all good.
Yeah. So tell us about your upcoming projects, Hope.
Let's see. I've been working on some different projects, outside of pastels and traditional 2D artwork.
Okay.
I've been doing some cut paper and LED kind of shadow box, lighted shadow box, if that makes sense.
Sure.
Let me share my screen and I will show
Mm.
you what that looks like.
Mhm.
Present. I'll do all the clickety-clickities. Okay, there we
Mhm.
go. You should be seeing, oh, there it is. Is it showing for you now? A little lighted box
Uh-huh.
scene. So, and this started as a sketch in my sketchbook, and I started cutting pages in my sketchbook out, based on what I'd sketched. And I'm like, I could do that like one of those shadow box things with LEDs, and I could enter that in this show coming up, the next show coming up at Cal, which is tiny.
Mhm.
So the piece has to be within 8 by 8 inches,
Oh my gosh, yeah.
including the frame. So it's not very
Mhm.
big, and it's depicting that, that small world, but it's also a big world if you are said cricket.
Mhm.
So that one is done and is ready to go. I've already submitted it.
There's a documentary out there that's probably 25, maybe 30 years old now. Um,
Mhm.
it's French, Microcosmos.
Uh-huh. I
Mhm.
think I've seen that, and then I think the Green Brothers have a YouTube channel
Okay.
called that Microcosmos. Anyway, then I think they're more not bacterial level, more microscopic
Ooh,
level
okay.
now. But still, this is still something very
Mhm.
small, blown up, and creatively embellished. That little house in the front.
Yes. Yes.
Jay and I have been making little acorn cap houses.
Oh,
I
yay.
saw on Pinterest, you take a little acorn cap and some clay, and you're turning these little houses with very little effort,
Mhm.
and they're just adorable. And I thought, maybe I could make one in this, and as if cricket lives there. I
Yep.
don't know.
Mhm.
So that's one thing. And then the other one, what you see up there now,
You talked about the walnut shell last time, but now we can see it.
there's that walnut shell. And talk about micro, that is a crocheted bear. My first try. It's not
Very
the
small
one I
crochet
used,
bear.
but it's very, very, I need to get a smaller hook, I've found,
Okay.
which is
Mhm.
kind of scary because the hook for that one is quite tiny.
Mhm.
So
Mhm.
playing with that, as and all the elements in this one need to be touchable.
Mhm.
So something that I want you to literally be able to touch it. So the walnut from the yard, and a
Mhm.
bear that was crocheted, or maybe it'll be needle felting. I'm not really sure yet. And then little found items. The other day, on a walk, I found a tiny little snail shell that would fit in Bear's arms there, and it's just perfectly formed. There's no breaks in it. So I may include that. I may not. I don't know.
Okay. Good.
Those are kind of the two right now. And then you saw the page from the sketchbook that I'm going to be doing as the year goes along and assembling later
Mhm.
as kind of an inside out sort of sketchbook. Let's see, I think I stopped sharing. Yes.
Mhm.
So
Mhm.
yeah, those are the projects right now.
Yay!
I haven't stopped doing pastels. I will be doing pastels because next month I'm going to do a bunch of studies in hopes of returning to Herman for their monthly art walks starting in April. I probably won't do all of them, but I'm going to do at least half of them. So the first Fridays I will be there in Herman.
Yay!
Yeah,
Yay, yay, yay.
kind of
Kinds of
fun,
fun
kind of fun.
stuff. Well, good deal. Hope, as always, this has been delightful.
Thank
As
you.
seems to be the case more and more, things are happening in my house, possibly as early as 3:15. So I'm really glad that I was like, nope, I know Hope and I will wrap up within an hour.
Yeah.
I can do this.
We got you. We got this. We can do this. We can do this and dinner too.
All the things, and blowing 6 inches of snow out of the driveway early this morning. It's been
Ooh, we
a day.
just have about a quarter inch of ice, probably less than that, but still, it's just ice.
I will take snow over ice.
I would prefer snow.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Yep, and it's powdery, so the snowblower actually goes right through it versus
Nice.
heavier stuff we had a couple weeks back, which took considerably more effort.
Yeah, the
Yeah.
shoveling snow is not something I can do anymore unless it's dire, like life or death,
Mm,
because I will be dead afterwards.
yeah, yeah. Mhm, mhm. I'm a
But
fan.
anyway, yes, this has been fantastic. I am so excited.
Yeah,
So, yeah,
good.
stay tuned for when we will have the
Mhm.
conclusion of round 3.
Safe to say a few weeks, and
At
we can
least. If not
we'll
the conclusion, we will have
mhm.
a continuation where we a touch base where we are.
Yep, yep.
All right.
Sounds great.
All right then. I will talk to you soon. We'll see everyone else later.
Absolutely. Thank you all for watching, for
Yes.
joining us.
Thank
Yay!
you. Leave any questions. We'll be watching.